All right. But I would just go live for a little bit, man. On the way home from the grind. So I thought I'd jump on here and talk some boxing. Usually do MMA on the way back, talk boxing. Uh, Ain't nobody up yet, but I said, let me go ahead and do a live stream and a video talking about boxing a little bit, man. Just want to talk about the state of boxing a little bit, man, just like compared to MMA. Me being fans of both, and me just being a diehard boxing fan, I just wanted to address how I kind of, how I feel about it, especially when I continue to just follow MMA more and more. Man, I follow WMMA closely, but I've been following WMMA a lot more. The men in MMA I've been following a lot more closer, and it's just like wow, man, compared to boxing, they just continue to make the best fights out there, you know. But yeah, man, like I said, just want to get on here and talk boxing with y'all this time. That's why I'm getting on here earlier because I know some of y'all out there want to hear me always talk MMA. So I said, let me jump up, do the morning stream, and talk boxing, and just kind of give you my thoughts on Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. Like I knew that fight wasn't going to happen, man. I, I'd heard about the interview, Bob Arum saying that a fight was going to be announced within the week, and of course we didn't get anything. I mean, it's what Saturday now, and we didn't get no update on Terrence Crawford's new possible opponent for June. I mean, the latest we heard was the rumor about Terrence Crawford taking on Manny Pacquiao in Abu Dhabi in June 5th, and then Manny Pacquiao, his promotions chief, stated that fight was nonsense. That fight wasn't going to happen. You know, so I talked about that the other night on the late night live stream with y'all, podcast episode, and I was just really getting fed up. I didn't really get a chance to go into it that night, but I was just like, what's the point of them to continue to jerk people around like this in the boxing world? You know, like why do they just keep saying this fight could happen, this fight should happen, instead of just actually signing fights now? That's the problem with boxing. Like, I don't know if it's the fact that there's just too much freedom with these fighters, or is it just too much money that's given to these fighters where they get to have the choice to say, oh man, like I'm worth more than this. This guy's not worth me getting in the ring with. Like I never really thought Terrence Crawford. I never really thought Manny Pacquiao wanted this Terrence Crawford fight. You think about it in the situation he's in, like he's just kind of out for big money fights. I mean, the biggest fight he wanted was not even a boxing match. That was Conor McGregor. He wanted to follow in the footsteps of Floyd Mayweather and take on Conor McGregor. That fight blew up. That didn't happen. And then he went for the Ryan Garcia that sideshow freak show fight, but that didn't happen. So next choice would be somebody like Mikey Garcia, which is what he said. Like Manny Pacquiao still talking about trying to fight Mikey Garcia. So he wants to go that road, fine. Like, I mean, they already stripped him of his belt, because he's been inactive, so that's fine. If he stripped of the belt, okay, he can just kind of do what he wants, fight exhibition fights, and just kind of leave him alone. Like, my opinion on Terrence Crawford, that's he might as well leave that fight alone. I know he won that lottery. Everybody wanted Floyd Mayweather when he was around. They wanted that big lottery, but in my opinion, if Terrence Crawford get that fight, just leave it alone. Take the fights that make sense. Manny Pacquiao, he's pretty much done. He's solidified who he is. He's a legend. He doesn't really have anything to prove. He doesn't really need to fight for belts anymore. He can just fight for, money and entertainment. Whereas Terrence Crawford, yeah, everybody considers him number one pound for pound in the boxing world, but um, there's still some things to prove at welterweight. So yeah, he's on a 5 fight knockout streak at welterweight, but against who? What's the competition like, right? Defended his belt what 4 times now, but still haven't beaten the top 10 welterweight. So I think for Terrence Crawford, he just needs to really build his own brand and build his own lane. Like everybody needs to stop chasing the Manny Pacquiao fight. It would have made more sense when he had the WBA belt, but nah, man, like forget it, just forget it. I mean, that's kind of like a sign, since Sean Porter put himself in the WBO rankings, go ahead and get that fight. He activated the number one. I don't know if he activated the number one mandatory whatever. I mean, since he's number one, it should be just automatically activated, right? But if he activates that, then yeah, that should be the fight that Terrence Crawford takes next. That's the only one that makes sense. Because I talked about in a video the other day, a few days ago, I did about Terrence Crawford, his potential next opponent. I said Sean Porter would probably be the best choice for him. The other selections were Manny and Keith Thurman, but like, what can you really get out of beating a Keith Thurman? A guy who's been inactive for 2 years, shares the same fight date as Manny Pacquiao. They haven't been in the ring since 2019, so neither fight would really do anything big for Terrence Crawford as far as legacy. I mean, it would do something for his pockets, yeah, but not for his legacy. So to me, I was like, when they just went off and said, "Oh, this fight is nonsense. It's not happening. It was just a bunch of blabber." That's what Gibbons said. Manny Pacquiao's chief promotions. He said it was just nonsense and blabber. I was like, I figured that. That's kind of what boxers becoming lately. It's just all talk. Everything that everybody can report is just about a fight that people are trying to avoid. You know, like I wish I could just sit here and talk about Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao as far as just breaking it down to y'all, like I do with MMA. Just breaking it down technically and telling you who I think could win the fight. But shoot, we can't even get past contracts being signed. We can't even get past deals with how much money fighters are going to get now. Everything is now, I deserve the big share. I deserve the lion's share. He gets 50%. I mean, he gets 20%. I get 80. You know what I mean? I mean, really, if you go back and think about it, like, did Manny Pacquiao really want this fight? No, I don't think he did. I think it just jumped ahead of everybody. Bob Arum, I don't know why all of a sudden, he would kind of hint around as this being the big fight for Terrence Crawford when, he kind of kept Manny Pacquiao from fighting Terrence Crawford for years. He feared for Manny Pacquiao like a few years back, and he didn't want Terrence Crawford to fight him. He didn't want Terrence Crawford to fight Manny because he feared. But in his recent interview, Bob Arum was like, "Oh, it's a big fight. It's a big fight that's happening, and it's going to be pay-per-view. It's going to be a fight that really makes sense." But what fight is that? I hope it ain't Jose Zito Lopez. I hope it ain't Jose Zito Lopez, man. It better not be that fight. Man. But yeah, like I said, I would have taken the fight if it happened. I definitely would watch the fight because yeah, I would support Terrence Crawford, and I am a Manny fan. Like I would still watch it if it happened. But if Terrence Crawford would have if he would have went in there and just kind of blew out Manny Pacquiao, I know a lot of people wouldn't give him full credit for it. I mean, it'd be kind of hard to, because he's already in his 40s, and he's been out of the boxing ring for 2 years. People would kind of take away from that. Yo, Marcus Bell, what's going on, man? I'm just driving, man. I'm headed home now, Marcus, and I'm just talking a little bit of boxing here. You know, that's why I'm talking in the morning and not in the afternoon. So if anybody wants to hear it, they can hear it. I just got to get some stuff off my chest with boxing, man. Like it's frustrating. Like that's my number one sport, but it's like everybody's making a mockery of it, man. Like they can't get anything done, man. What's the deal? Like everything you hear every time, Marcus, it's just like, okay, uh, he said, she said, he said he could kick his ass, or he said he's better than him. Well, why don't you get your behind in the ring and prove it? You know, it's the same thing with Charlo and Demetrius Andrade right now. You know, Charlo said he could just blow Demetrius Andrade's mind with these right hands. He could just beat him up, but you don't want to fight him. You just say you can beat him, but you don't want to go in there and prove it. Like the show improved part of boxing is gone. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the best way to put it. The show improved part of boxing is gone, man. It's all just talk and walk away, talk away and walk away. Said garbage boxing matches are in the world. Exactly. That's the second part I want to talk about here before I get off here. Um, did you see that list, man, Marcus? There is a list of boxing matches coming up, and none of them are professional fights. They're all exhibition matches. And I put the worst one. I put the worst one in the title. Yeah, you still like boxing too? Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, definitely. Like I love the sport. I love the fight, and I love the past fights, but in the history. But yeah, I don't like the current business of it. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Anderson Silva versus Chavez Jr. Man, that's terrible, man. Like, come on, Anderson Silva. He's been out of he got put out of the UFC now. You know, after his last loss against Uriah Hall, and he's still looking to bank cash off of that name. And Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He was pretty much never. He was kind of a never. I won't even call Chavez Jr. like a has been. I mean, no disrespect to his father at all. You know, he was a legend, but Chavez Jr. He was just kind of like a never been or never was. Sorry, like he never dedicated himself to the game. Like I don't even know if he really wanted to fight. Maybe he just wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. I mean, his last time out when he got stopped by he didn't even get stopped. He quit against Danny Jacobs. It didn't make me want to see him in any shape, form, or fashion in the boxing ring again. I don't care if it is an exhibition match. You know, I know Anderson Silva. He's been toying with coming to boxing because he wanted to fight Roy Jones in a boxing match before, and that was like I remember when they first talked about that was like 10 years ago. And now he's trying to come back and do it because everybody else is doing it. You know, Jake Paul, Ben Askren, uh, De La Hoya, all these guys are coming back for exhibition matches, and it's like, wow, man, like what? There's a point to it though. I mean, like it's showing you that these older guys, the legends, are still willing to come out and fight somebody, but the guys of today are not doing that. I should say, if you notice, boxing is the reason why Triller was created, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Like it was really all based around that Mike Tyson Roy Jones fight, and it was that was like the biggest thing that was coming out of it. Like Triller, I didn't really hear anything else about him dropping anything big. Like that's just what it. That's kind of just what gave it life. That was on the oh my Steve Cunningham, my man Steve Cunningham and Frank Mir. Oh boy. Now Miguel Cotto versus Juan Manuel Marquez. That's not it. That's not as bad because they just retired and they were good fighters. I'm not. Everybody was good. You know, like Roy and Mike were good fighters, but yeah, they're older. Um, Ben Askren and Jake Paul, they not fighters, so that's not really a good fight. But this Cotto Marquez, it's a little bit interesting just because they just carry a different energy about them. They're not about the same thing like Chavez Jr. is. They ain't really like clowns like that. So I think it's more of just like it's money too, but I think they will put on a little bit of a performance for us. Not bad. Cotto Marquez, like I would have liked to seen that whenever it was like when they both were in their prime, or but yeah, it's still not something I really want to see. What else, man? Like, yeah, there was like a whole list of exhibition matches, man, and that's what boxing's turned into. I don't think MMA will ever turn to that direction. What do you think, Marcus? You ever think it? You think it will? I think I think too many celebrities and too many boxers respect it too much because they ain't trying to get choked out like that. Ain't nobody trying to get kicked in the head. Ain't nobody trying to go in there with the even the oldest MMA fighter because they ain't trying to get kicked in the head and they ain't trying to get their legs ripped up by leg kicks. Yeah, I don't see that happening. MMA, boy. I mean, boxing, man. Whew. Like boxing just became a bit of a like a celebrity death match thing. You remember MTV Celebrity Death Match? That's what it kind of became. They took the premise of the sport and they said, look, we're gonna make MTV Celebrity Death Match without the death. I mean, that's what it is now. That's what boxing is MTV Celebrity Death Match without the death, man. We've been talking. Yeah, I was here earlier. I was just like, yeah, I can't really talk anything about boxing as far as like he said, she said. Now, man, that's the sad part. It's not really worth talking about. Like it's more so worth talking about with WMMA. Like if there's he said, she said MMA, we can talk about it because it's going to lead to a fight. Like if I do a video talking about Valentina, if Valentina says something about Jessica Andrade or vice versa, that's worth talking about because there's a fight coming up and it's going to tell us like who's in whose head, right now. Like who's really like who's got the mental edge here, who seems worried. Is she right about being able to knock somebody out, so and so out? Makes sense. You know, like there's a video I want to talk about Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade said, she's gonna go in there and expose some holes in Valentina. But Jessica Andrade also said like Valentina was a fighter. She's very fearful. Yeah, she said she's like very fearful of. And when she said that, I was like, uh oh. Said she wanted a beer. Damn. Stuff like that gets you thinking. Because there's a fight behind it. It's not just talk. I mean, boxing. These guys they're safely behind their phones and they're behind their social media accounts, and that's where they talk their trash, but it never really turns into a fight. That's crazy, man. Did you watch the fights last night? I watched some good fights last night, man. Um, man, that Laura Watanabe fight, damn, man. I was going for Laura in that fight. I thought she was gonna win that one, man. I don't know, man. I think I kind of edged it to Laura a little bit, man. I kind of gave Laura the edge in that fight. And I'm not just saying that. I kind of gave Laura the edge, man. I thought she did enough to win the second round, but Watanabe came on strong, man, and she dominated that last round. So I mean, you just got to watch out for the referees, man. I'm not the referees, but the judges. You know, if you get taken down, you best believe that the referee, not the referee, but the judges are going to give you that round. You're going to lose that round. Oh man, yeah, yeah. I seen a few of her fights. That's where I was like, man, I was like, Watanabe gonna get pieced up, and she did. She did get pieced up in this fight. She's strong, very strong, and has very good wrestling, man. And she's a solid judoka, but them hands ain't there. The hands ain't there. I don't know, man. If she's the fight for the belt or she fights Denise Killholtz, it might be a wrap, man. I think Velasquez and Killholtz are the top level. But shoot, man. Yeah, like I said, early morning boxing talk, just to kind of go on my little rant about boxing. I'll talk some MMA later on today. I'm just like at a point, like, yeah, like I love the sport, but man, like these guys out here, they got to do so much better, man. Charlo, he passing up a Benavidez fight. He's passing up a Charlo, he's passing up a Benavidez fight. He's passing up a Demetrius Andre fight. He's saying Triple G don't want to fight him. That's ridiculous, man. That's some ridiculous. That's just all around ridiculous for boxing. All these guys in the welterweight division, they're in the same division, but you can't get them to fight. I mean, shout out to Sean Porter. I mean, he's fought everybody. I mean, he's like the one guy that's got names on his resume. And Arrow, Arrow's got a few now. Um, well, you think about it, a little bit of everybody does except Terrence, man. So Terrence, he got to get up out of that Bob Arum situation. He got to get up out of that Terrence. Terrence got to get up out of that top rank thing because that ain't working for him. Yeah, man, Denise Killholtz. So yeah, Denise Killholtz will put some hands on her, man. I think she's a harder hitter than Laura, so she might get her up out of there. But yeah, final thoughts. So like Crawford Pacquiao, I knew that fight wasn't a go. Everybody was saying, "Oh man, it's gonna happen." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, pal." I talked about it as far as like a possibility, but everybody else was trying to act like that thing was a go, man. That was ridiculous. Everybody was trying to promote that thing like the fight was gonna happen June 5th. Like, I ain't seen nothing of the sort, man. I was just like, "Yo, this is interesting. Like, if it happens, it's interesting. That's all I can give you, but I ain't gonna lie and tell you it's on." Shevchenko Andrade is on. Whaley versus Rose is on. Usman Masvidal 2 is on. I bet you Francis Ngannou and John Jones will be on before some of these boxing matches happen. Think I'm lying? Yeah, Ryan Garcia, he fizzled out, man. I lost respect for him, man, because he fizzled out after January. That Luke Campbell fight, he was calling Tank out. Then all of a sudden, that tank energy died, man. He fizzled out, man. He was like, "Oh, I want to fight Manny Pacquiao in exhibition match." It's like, get out of here, man. That's some ridiculous stuff. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to a Silva Chavez exhibition match. I'm not gonna watch that. I watched the Mike Tyson Roy because I'm a fan of those guys. Um, but yeah, you getting ridiculous now. But yeah, I'm about to get up out of here, man. I'll be talking. I'm gonna drop some boxing talk. I'm not boxing talk. I'm gonna be dropping these MMA reviews here, man. These fights last night. Saw some good stuff on Cage Fury, who had some good fights. Cage Fury and Icon. Icon had some good women's fights last night. But yeah, I gotta talk this Bellator fight, man. So yeah, Marcus, I'll be on here a little bit later or throughout the weekend. Thanks for coming through and hearing my boxing rant. I'm about to get up out of here, man. Later.